This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
This podcast is brought to you by Custom Car Show Productions, which includes 4 annual car and truck shows. Search Google or Facebook for more information on these CCSP events. Orange Beach Invasion, which is in Orange Beach, Alabama, mid-March. After Hours Car and Truck Show, Mobile, Alabama, mid-May. Scraping the Coast in Biloxi, Mississippi, each June. And Bayou Showdown, which is in Slidell, Louisiana. Again, search Google or Facebook for more information. Each of these shows are also available on Instagram. This is Our Lifestyle, the podcast, and we approve this message.
One, two, three into the four. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door, ready to make an entrance, so back on up, cause you know we're about to rip shit up.
Give me the microphone first so I can record in this bubble. Naples and Land O'Lakes together, now you know you're in trouble. Ain't nothing but an OLP thing, baby. 2 loked out podcasters going crazy. Custom Car Show Productions is the label that pays me. Unfadable, so please don't try to fade us. Hell yeah. But back to the podcast at hand. Perfection is perfected, so I'm going to let them understand. Yo, 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 yo. It's Our Lifestyle, the podcast. Episode 215 coming at you from the Custom Car Show Productions compound. This is the Chronic 2020. You guys know, 3 years in a row, my favorite album. We're going to talk about it more on this episode. But first, hold on, let me play this little bit, this little jingle we got here.
This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you're about to see is not a news broadcast.
Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, we also examine the case of
Mike Murray.
Brit has escaped. Perhaps you can help catch him.
So, Mickey Mike the Mayor, let me, I got to dive into this because you guys aren't going to believe it. It's my understanding that Ryan, so I got to get on Ryan's ass, that he supposedly gave Mike, Ryan from Graphics Mafia, supposedly gave him the new dial-in information because Ryan was just recently on. Mike, I can hear some heavy breathing. What the fuck you doing calling in, man? Just because I wished you a happy born day and the Airhead Nation did doesn't mean we're all of a sudden like friends again, dude. Where the fuck you been? No SIM card or some shit? Come on, man. Dude, you can't just abandon the podcast, dude, like this, man. It's hurtful, bro.
Well, let's put it this way, Jay, that my dog swallowed my phone, okay? And I lost my internet connection, no Wi-Fi.
Dude,
I've been delivering Amazon packages that are, coming out my ears. I went to Bayou Showdown and Greg worked me Sean and Greg worked me to death,
dude. Bro, I can't believe it, dude. They're like just trying to kill you. I heard up there working the gate or something, and I got that intel from one of my homies.
Dude, I was working the back gate. I was working the spectator gate. They were understaffed. The show was freaking huge this year. I tried to sneak away and do some videos, and man, thanks to all the people that freaking tuned in on our Instagram page. Well, I say R. I don't know if R is the right word to use anymore.
Mine. Okay, let's be honest.
Yours. And dude, it was awesome. The whole Reels deal for Instagram is freaking awesome. It's so easy to use. I got to use more of it. But then, man, Greg seen me over there trying to do videos. It's like, whoa, what are you doing? I'm paying you. Get your ass back on that gate.
Get back in your cage, man. That's what Soprano is saying there.
I was like a caged animal. He had me locked up all weekend long. No time to take pictures. No time to do videos. Man, he barely fed me. I had one barbecue. Oh, it was so good, dude. Grilled cheese brisket sandwich, dude. Holy shit, was it fucking awesome. He gave me 2 minutes to eat that damn thing, and then I was back to that damn gate again. So, man, I had no time.
It all comes down to the G word, and I'm not talking about G-Thang. gallivanting, dude. Here I am. I'm texting you. I'm calling you. I'm going, Mike, is everything all right? And I still had, I put the chin up and I said, you know what? This guy has basically abandoned his duties. And we still even wished you a happy born day. I think you think you're badass because you were born on the same day that the Chronic came out. Of course, you were born way before Nine Deuce, man.
Definitely way before. But I do have to say, Airhead Nation, so good to be back on here. And Jay, thanks for allowing me. Well, actually, you really didn't even allow me to come on. But you know what, Jay? F you, man, because this is our lifestyle, the podcast. That's mine and yours. And the Airhead Nation has spoke, and they want the mayor back, okay? So I don't know who you've been talking to, but I got all these birthday messages. I got all these private messages. Mike, man, where are you at? Is everything okay? Is everything okay with you and ODB? Well, guys, the truth is, yes, me and ODB are just fine.
Well, we had to work it out. And we had a long talk, I mean, listen, you were talking about you like walks on the beach and shit. I was like, look, I like body drop trucks, Mike. I don't know where you're going with it. But listen, I told Mike, we had to come to an agreement. He has signed on. He's got a lot of conditions that he has to meet. And if you're not shipping out the orders each week, then you basically, we're getting ready to do your performance agreement for 2020. And, we've set the bar high for next year, Mike, for you. And I don't even want to include Mrs. Mayor because you know what? You rope her in, and that's your deal, okay? I'm not roping her in. So if you got her out there shipping out orders, that's your deal, bro.
Yeah, and honestly, she shipped out the last one. So, yeah. And I did rope her in. And, yeah, I got her in. But in all honesty, guys, this is one of the busiest times of the year for me, obviously at the post office. Obviously with my home watch business, and thanks for Jay for holding it down and doing the damn thing. And it's good to be back on here with you guys. But guys, it is an absolute gimmick. Okay, this whole ODB is the next Vince McMahon. He can take a gimmick and run with it with the help of good old Dizzy, Don Davis, and my man. That damn Chronic album cover with my ugly ass face on was priceless. That was gold, absolute gold. But Dizzy did throw me under the bus. I tried to, in confidence, hey Dizzy, this is what I got planned. I was going to do my own podcast. I was going to do my own thing. And then he freaking went and released it. And then you seen it and you questioned me. And so I couldn't do it. So Dizzy, I'm going to have to dock you some pay there. I didn't tell you to release that yet. I hadn't gotten out of my contract with OLP. So, hey, but anyways, doing another podcast.
Listen, my plan was to hang up like 6 minutes ago on you, but the Airhead Nation knows they get sick of hearing my voice. Now, listen, I like to talk. You guys know it, but sometimes it is kind of nice to take a break and I don't pay attention when you talk. I mean, I'll be honest because I'm like, it's kind of like Charlie Brown. But, I mean, like I said the other day, Mike, you probably didn't listen, but, I mean, you add a little bit of value. So, look, why don't you stick around, help me get this train back on the tracks, and then we'll keep the pedal stomped as I guess we go into January. Well, so check this out. This is the third straight year, as I mentioned. Our lifestyle, as Mike mentioned a moment ago, the good thing is we've always talked about and expanded, not just trucks, and that's really what we kind of pride ourselves on. Of course, I just talk about the stuff I love, and obviously the Chronic 9 Deuce really kind of kicked off Death Row Records after the Snoop and Dre song from the Deep Cover soundtrack. So I'll kind of cover some cool stuff. I think you guys will appreciate it. I'll try not to go over the same amount of stuff that I went over maybe in the past or the same content, but I'll kind of add some new stuff to it. But like like they always say, this is dedicated to the listeners though. They've been down since day one. Welcome to OLP. And you guys hear that, of course, at the beginning. That I did the spin there. But Mike, this overview of 215, the Chronic, as I'm spinning at 2020 overview, is brought to you by All Time Low magazine. We tell you time and time again, Mike, you can't go wrong when you subscribe to this awesome magazine. Ain't that right?
Dude, always. Rich, Beth, they do the damn thing. And of course, they got all their photographers, the Michelle Boones, the, Mr. Facebook himself, he's always out there, always, doing the damn thing as far as covering the shows on, Instagram and Facebook, and, Mr. Davis. So it's, dude, that team over there is just hands down one of the best in the industry. And we're really lucky to have All Time Low, in our scene, and for Rich and Beth to be able to do what they do. It's kind of like when, being off the podcast for a while and then listening to the podcast. And like I said, I definitely want to say thanks to all the people that did reach out, making sure that I was okay. And, with all these weird times that we're going through as far as with COVID and all that shit like that, there was all kinds of different, you this, that, no, guys, it's just, I've been busy. I've gotten so much stuff going on. But for Rich and Beth to be able to do what they do, and, kind of like what we do with, with this podcast, and, for the scene, talk about the scene, because, we live the scene, we do the damn thing. And this is what we love to do. And, it's just, hey, 2021, man, it's just gonna be bigger and better, and, definitely look forward to it. So, but definitely want to, make sure that they know that we appreciate, what they do and how they do it. And, like I was just talking to Rich the other day, and the 2021 calendar is coming out for All Time Low magazine. So make sure you guys get ready and look out for that, because and any businesses out there, any shows, any promoters, anybody that's interested in being in the calendar, definitely reach out to Rich, reach out to Beth, and, make sure you get it in there and get it in soon. So he can get this thing, out, and, especially before 2021.
atlmagazine.com. You can click on clearance, apparel, banners, stickers, accessories, mini trucker babe line as well. So they've got it all. Big ups to the homies, Real Deal Holyfield. So let's roll into the last episode recap. And 214 Mike featured someone that has been on the list a long time. I actually felt kind of bad, because when I looked back in my Facebook Messenger, it was June. I could not believe it was June of 2019 was really some of the conversation started heating up with Jamie Starling about, hey, let's, come on. And his, he had the child that was born in 2019, and he was like, hey, man, can I just get a little bit more time? I've got a lot of stuff going on. And dude, super cool. I was like, yo, homie. So we started texting from there over the course of the next year. But dude, literally, Mike, when we get older, we hear time kind of flies. Dude, a year and a half was like poof, gone. And the homie was, dude, he was so accommodating to try to link up the times. And it really helped having Jazzy on recently. That allowed me to get the time zone kind of nailed down. What did you think of, if you got a chance to listen to the entire episode? I know you've been crazy, supposedly. I don't know, man. I know it's Christmas, but Jamie Starling, did you get a chance to listen to that one or any of the recent ones?
Dude, I listened to them all. The one thing that I get to do is obviously listen to the podcast, because, I'm in my damn truck. I'm out there delivering packages and, doing the damn thing. And the one thing that you got to do, Jay, is you got to come up with another song, man. That whole Down Under.
Come from a land down under.
Yeah, we got to come up. We got to come up with a different song. But all in all, man, what a guy! What a great guy! Just a lot of the things in the trucks and just the connections with all the different people over there, and just a great guy. And just the stories and the times, and that's one thing that I like listening to podcasts and the interviews the most. And that's just like lowest common denominator podcast. And I'm bringing something else up, and you asked me one thing, but that's one thing I really love about that podcast, is the fact of all the mini trucking stories that they talk about on that podcast. And I really, really dig those. And that's one thing that I really like about your interviews. When you do these interviews with these different people. And I love listening to their stories of not just the truck shows, but also the journey of building the builds of their vehicles. And the different stories of them and their clubs and them and their businesses. And I love listening to the stories, and I love listening to people that come on and that can tell their story. And so, and he did an awesome job of doing that. So, and hats off to you, because I thought that was a real good chemistry, good interview. Y'all vibed real good, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was awesome having him on, and so thankful to have built some of these relationships and friendships, really, rather, that spans different continents. You got people listening. A lot of the homies from down under, they kind of got. They had hit me up and they're like, "Yo, listen, man, thanks for the shout out," or whatnot. And they said, "Hey, we're not sending you any Air Jordans. We're keeping all the bikes." I said, "Damn it, all right, we're not friends anymore." But in all seriousness, when I don't often do this, but when we log into Podbean and we see obviously the United States as our primary listeners, right? But then when you realize how many people in Australia listen, and Canada is really number 2. And then, even you see the United Kingdom, New Zealand, and then you start to get into, like, people. We met one of the guys at Orange Beach Invasion last year from freaking Germany, dude. We've got people from Japan, Malaysia, Spain, Finland, France, Norway, Russia, Vietnam. I'm not making this up. And then, of course, there's, a bunch from unknown countries, man. I mean, maybe they're in Antarctica down there listening. But it's pretty cool, and we do it for the love of it. I know we do. I know some people might get, we normally get, Mike, a lot of the good feedback on the shtick, but some people might get sick of it and this and that. But it's all in good fun, and really that's what we're trying to do, is entertain, but also bring this information each week to everyone. So the last episode recap featuring Jamie Starling was brought to you by our family at Hammered Weekend Wear. We tell you time and time again, HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. That'll get you right over to the website. Lots of cool specials going down, including the 2021 subscription. And there's no better way to say it, that if you see all the heat, as Ron mentions, that he dropped in 2020, and you think about, hey, man, if I wish I could afford every single one of those shirts, well, you can save about almost $150 by subscribing to the t-shirt subscription. You'll get every shirt that he drops in 2021. So Hammered, HAMMERD, weekendwear.com. So big ups to Ron. And of course, Hank, who's getting a little crazy over there. So, Mike, the general updates, dude. I know you've had a lot going on. You've got some things you're planning. I see you've been posting for the show next year and things like that. But what you got, man? Anything for the Airhead Nation?
Well, you bring up After Dark, and definitely want to give a shout out to, not only all the sponsors, all the supporters, but Graphic Disorder, man. Those guys are just hands down one of the best companies to work with. Andrew and Eric and Brant over there, and just, you send emails, they answer them back right away. You ask for something, they get it done. The time frames, Brant, once you pay, he tells you, boom, this is how long it's going to be. And man, every single time hits that deadline. I mean, he's right on every single time, and sometimes even earlier.
Yes.
And I know they're having issues right now over there with, of course, with the whole COVID thing. And I actually talked to Eric the other day, and he's actually working from home, and so they're definitely going through some tough times right now as well with this whole COVID crap. But hey, they're still doing it, and they're still doing it well. And dude, the product they put out is just time again, hands down, the best in the business. And guys, if you guys are looking for anything as far as promoting a show, promoting a t-shirt line, anything in the scene, out of the scene, those guys are hands down the best in the business. And make sure you guys get over there and reach out to Brant over at Graphic Disorder, because man, they can do it all, man. They make your job so much easier because they do theirs so damn well. So yes, we got After Dark next year, February 13th, Saturday, February 13th, sorry. And this is it. That's the flyer. We just released it, just put it out. This is also going to be the last call for sponsors. If anybody else is, any other companies out there are interested in sponsoring, definitely hit me up soon, because the shirt's going to be going to pre-order here real soon. And I want to give that last chance for those sponsors if they want to come on board. If not, we're going to go ahead and put that pre-order up and go ahead and start getting these shirts ordered and ready for the show, man. And we look forward to it. Corey Floyd, we talked about him before, and not only is he a photographer for All Time Low magazine, but him and his brother are making cornhole boards now, and they're actually going to be making the cornhole boards for us for After Dark, and the winning team is going to win a custom After Dark cornhole set there from Flop Shots. So we got some lots of sponsors. Really look forward to having everybody out there. Not only that, but my truck, man. My truck is done over at ProFab. He did everything. Ryan over at ProFab, Florida, did what he needed to do. He dropped it off over at John's house for me, and drove up to John's, and we took it over to an undisclosed place because apparently I jumped a whole bunch of people, and my truck is there, and it's getting done. He's already sending me pictures, and dude, I can't wait. This truck, I love the color. Jay, I sent you a preview. This is the color I've wanted, and he's making it happen. He's definitely got to do some body work on the bed. He's got to do some body work, put some different taillights, new roll pan and whatnot on the Mazda, but it looks like the Mazda will be at Orange Beach Invasion, and I can't wait, because not only is that one of my favorite shows, but that's also my wife and my daughter's favorite show as well. So looks like the Mazda will be there. So I look forward to bringing it out and showing it off. I can't wait, dude. It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming. So definitely shout out to ProFab Florida for all his help, Ryan, and for what he did. And of course, I'll be talking it up enough when it gets done, of where it was at and who's doing all the work for me now. But the only other thing that I really wanted to mention is our Airhead Nation Fantasy Football League. Okay, let's bust some balls here real quick. Let's start off with the bad, which is Made of Steel. Goat, you, son, are horrible. 4-10 in the league, Jay. Absolutely dead last. Scored the least amount of points. I think he started in last place and he finished in last place. So I think what's going to happen, Jay, if you finish in last place in the Airhead Nation Fantasy League, you have to buy everybody in the league at Mini Nats next year a steak dinner. I don't know where he's going to get dinner, and I just made that up. But I think everybody can vote on it. And yes, I think that'll happen. But our boy Dizzy, he also finished with a 4-10 record, which he finished in 10th place. But he at least scored 1,000 more points than what Goat did with Made of Steel show. But hey, he's really not that much better. One guy I really want to point out here is our boy Hammered Weekend Wear. Remember at one time Hammered Weekend Wear was 5-0 and in first place?
Yeah. Okay,
well, guess what? He finished in 8th place with a 6-8 record. No, the season's not over, but the playoffs have started, and so the season's pretty much over. But our boy Ron, he must have let Hank take over his team, because, dude, he finished with a 6-8 record and just horrible, absolutely horrible. Ron, I hope you listen to some Fantasy Football League, advice, and either don't play or get somebody else to help you next year. Our boy Brad, okay, this man I honestly feel kind of bad for Brad, because he scored almost more points than he was second in points in the whole league and finished with a 6-8 record. Okay. Finished 7th place in the league. He's changed his name of his team, I would say, at least 6 or 8 times. And he can't decide on what his name is. And he tries to pick up players off the waiver wire more than I do. And he'll never catch me. He definitely has got the title for most, team name changes. But hey, it's okay. It's okay, Brad. There's always next year. Okay. He is pretty serious about winning in fantasy football, though. I will tell him that. And of course, the commish, he finished in 5th place, right outside of the playoffs. But Jay, drum roll, please. Guess who made the playoffs?
Who's that?
I won't even let you guess.
Hank.
It was me. It was me. I came in 4th place. I crawled into the playoffs, but guess what? Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And with a 9-5 record, I'm in the playoffs, and I get to face Joey, which Joey led the league with 11-3 record and the most points scored. So not only did he finish the year with the best record, but he also finished the year with most points scored. So congratulations, Joey. It's not over yet because we're in the playoffs now. But Corey's right there, right behind you. Not too shabby, with 9-5 record as well. How did I get here? Which we have no clue either. But you also finished with a 9-5 record. So basically, we got Joey at 11-3, and we got 3 teams tied with a 9-5 record. Actually, all in all, Jay, we had a really good season this year, and I really look forward to I'm still going to win it. I'm picking myself to win this thing, and with the big upset and beat Joey in the championship. I played Joey first in the first week of the playoffs, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and knock him out, and then I'll go ahead and take out Corey for the championship. That's what I'm calling right now. So we'll see what happens. And Big Tonka, you were almost there, buddy. Kamish, try a little bit harder. But next year, guys, let's make this a paid league. So, Goat down there brags that he's in all these different leagues and spends all this money. Well, Goat, I hope you did a lot better in all those other leagues than you did in this one, brother, because 4-10, it ain't going to cut it, brother. So, hey, guys, thanks for participating. Thanks for playing. And Brad, make sure you get your subscription to a fantasy football, advice column and get some good advice, because you're going to need some more luck for next year, because finishing 7th, I know that's not sitting well with you, brother. So good luck next year, buddy. That's all I got, brother.
We might as well just wrap that up. That's why Mike, 20-minute update. I think you covered everything. I think we just wrap it right there, brother.
All right. Well, hey, Airhead Nation's been great coming back, and with that being said, Jay, where?
No, not where. You're out here, bro. You're like, dude, I'm gonna fucking come out of the bullpen or out of the dugout like fucking Pete Rose ripping the home plate off, going, get the fuck out of here. It's a bad call.
Hey, with that being said, Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame.
See,
enough said.
We got any more updates, Mike? Any more? So,
hey Jay, why don't you tell us what you got going on, brother?
Really, just catching up on new music. Gotta love Spotify, Apple Music. It beats the old school days. Although you guys know I still buy CDs. I'm that guy. I still buy the records and things like that. I don't buy like some guys will buy the tape, the CD, and the record of every single thing that launches. I mean, I don't know how guys do that, but it's been pretty awesome. Just really kind of catching up. And I forgot to mention on the Bill Hancock episode where we really talked about the legacy of Colorado Custom and how they started. Really, believe it or not, I believe it. It's one of our top downloaded episodes all year, and it's just really only the last month or so that we launched it. But I used the Wolf Van Halen song Distance. And if you get a chance, go out. If you type in Mammoth WVH, which is for Wolf Van Halen, that's the name of his band, Mammoth WVH. Man, this kid is doing some really cool things. I've read a lot of interviews. He's not trying to ride the coattails of his dad at all. Rest in peace to his pops. He's doing his own thing, and that song Distance, I mean, he is just blown away at the worldwide reception of it. Really a good song. Used that song in the Bill Connington episode, really because it was like fresh. It was like boom, it had just released, and then also because obviously with Bill and his son Thomas passing away at such an early age, I just thought it was a perfect song for it. So really just kind of catching up on that stuff, Mike, and really kind of forging a path into here into 2021. So super excited, but These general updates are brought to you by Viair. We say it time and time again. Viair is the heart of any air suspension. Just know that Viair has a giveaway going on, as they do several times per year. This one is directly through them. You can visit Viair on Instagram or Facebook for more information. It's pretty cool what they do. As we always say, Viair supports the scene. So, Mike, speaking about the scene, we got the scene updates. And you happen to see on social media the new Street Trucks dropped. So let them know what the blood, sweat, and gears that they're going to see in that new issue. I think it's the January 2021 issue.
Our boy, Daryl Poe. And it's so funny to see this under construction come out in this magazine, especially after you've seen this beautiful, beautiful, one of the baddest S10s ever done. You know, hey, Bada Bing was pretty badass too. And I do believe you won Mini Truck of the Year. But Daryl Poe's beautiful S10 in an under construction, and to see it when it's completely done was kind of weird. But at the same time, congratulations, because Daryl, all the accolades, all the features, all the articles, everything that you are receiving with this badass S10, you definitely deserve it, brother. So I really look forward to seeing the actual feature of this beautiful truck, because, guys, if you have not seen Daryl Poe's S10 yet, you have to make sure whatever show he's going to be at, which he will be at After Dark next year, you have to make sure you get out and check out this S10, because this thing is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. So that's pretty cool. And then obviously now that the truck is finished, you could see a couple of videos of it on our YouTube channel. We went to a lot of shows this year, about 15 or so, and we got a chance to see it a lot of times. And we did a couple of videos, and those are kind of, I'm slowly uploading everything as I kind of purge stuff off the computer. A lot of it was made for social media originally, but why not? Some of it's real cool stuff and kind of documenting, so you can go out to our YouTube channel and check out The Outlaw. So pretty cool, Mike, there. One thing, we recently also had Stuart Daigle on, so big ups to my severed brother. Last Resort, he wanted to let everyone know that they had a shit ton of vehicles there, even with kind of the challenges with the weather and whatnot. And obviously COVID, that pushed it into December. I saw someone comment on there, didn't the show already happen? Like, I mean, no offense, like, do you think someone would post the show and be like, hey, it's happening this weekend, if it actually already happened like a month, 2 months ago? But I know not everybody keeps up on social media like we do, but that's why we do this, right? So that you can listen and we can give you that intel. And the intel was, obviously, that Last Resort got pushed out. We recently had Stuart on. He kind of covered some of that. So we're looking forward to seeing the success of the growing show. There's a lot of good shows out there. And this might sound cliche, Mike, but it means a lot to get out there and support the scene. I recently made a post. It was the post where I had met Not Stock Photography, John Jackson, and got a chance to meet him at Mini Nats. And, I kind of quoted, an ODB quote, right? And I kind of said, hey, listen, supporting the scene is more than, just getting out there with the truck, right? And here it is. There's more to going to shows than showing the vehicle. And kind of a basic saying, but I mean, it's true, because you get out there, you network with people, and, that ties into the whole Mini Nats for next year. Let's not be upset that we can't necessarily get in. Let's know that, there's going to be some guys and ladies that aren't going to be able to make it. There's going to be some tickets, I'm sure, that'll be transferred at some point. But regardless, it's a show that we're going to still get out to. So really kind of ties into the theme of OLP is get out there, support your fellow brothers and sisters out there. They're doing the damn thing without people going to shows, the foot traffic, buying the show shirts, the skate decks like they had at Mini Nats, and all the cool stuff that Scraping the Coast launches with, the stickers, the shirts, the hats, all that stuff. I mean, that all goes back into making that show the next year even that much better. But, Mike, I also, you mentioned the Lowest Common Denominator podcast earlier. Something that I had noticed is they're doing a real good job on social media, and I like their social media handle. It's LCD on Instagram, LCD Podcast. and that is, of course, lowest common denominator podcast. But they've been posting some old throwback photos, and I think it's awesome what they're doing with the podcast. We've said it before. Others are also doing their podcast, but they've got a rich kind of region there that even Ruben and I had talked one day, and Ruben's like, I don't know all the history about that little area, and not little, but that section of the U.S. So it's real cool what they're doing. They're kind of forging their path. They're doing their thing as others are doing. So I would just tell them keep it up, and love seeing it.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And like I told you, like I said earlier in bringing it up, is they definitely do a great job of talking about those those old mini truck stories, and the befores, the afters, and during shows and trips and long weekends. And like I said, man, listening to these two hillbillies talk about it, dude, it's great. It's awesome. And I just wish I had a beer listening to it. And I'm just glad that they told me Mountain Dew shrinks my balls, because I don't drink Mountain Dew no more.
Yeah, I stopped drinking that stuff, I think, when I was like 19 or 20, something like that. Going to shows. Yeah. No, it was probably like 2021. I was like, damn, that shit's like battery acid for your teeth or some shit, ain't it? I thought it was.
Well, dude, if you would have told me it was battery acid for my teeth, no big deal. But man, you tell me it's going to shrink my testicles, I'm done, dude.
Well, it's funny how people, a popular talk host said this many years ago. It's like, your doctors will sometimes tell you, man, why, quit smoking, exercise more, your teeth are going to fall out. It's like, we'll ignore our doctors, and then we'll hear like one of our buddies go, yeah, man, it'll do, insert whatever into the blank, it'll do blank, whatever, right? And we're like all freaked out, it's like our doctor's been telling us that shit for 20 years,
Yeah, exactly. But see, my doctor weighs like 400 pounds and he smokes. But he's trying to tell me, wait, I love it.
All right. I didn't save a lot this week. I know you also saw something from the homie Robbie Bryant, a previous guest. Why don't you share that one, Mike?
Oh, well, dude, man, our boy Justin Benoit, 2021 Ford F-150, dropping it off over there to Jimmy's Rod and Customs, and it's going to be done right when it's taken to Jimmy's Rod and Customs. So I know Jimmy's got a long list over there, and he's got some badass shit coming out here within the next 2 years. So definitely, guys, if you haven't checked out Jimmy's Rod and Customs yet, make sure you guys check it out, because and stay tuned, because I know of one that's going to be coming out probably in 2022 that's going to be badass, and I definitely look forward to seeing that one, and now seeing the 2021 F-150. That thing's gonna be so sweet, and good for Justin that he's taking it somewhere where he knows it's going to be reliable, and he's going to be able to drive that thing anywhere and everywhere, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, Graham always hashtags Jimmy's or Jimmy builds drivers. Obviously, people crisscrossing the country. There's other shops as well that are building some cool stuff, but I just I have all the faith in the world, all the stuff that I've seen him do. I've been in his shop more than most. All those weekends. With Jimmy really just slaving away and just giving in terms of the amount of work that he put into Bada Bing, and I can't thank him enough. But just seeing the stuff he's doing, man. I mean, even if it's just a regular bag job, the amount of detail he goes into with the hard lines and all that stuff, it's just awesome. So big ups. And dude, the rendering's cool. Keg Media, as you mentioned. But, obviously he's repping Acrophobia. He's got some other sponsors on there, including Airlift. So, big ups. Love the rendering. Can't wait to see the truck in 2021.
Well, Jay, talking about some badass trucks that actually drive, did you see the Silverado that pretty much freaking broke the internet this past weekend?
Yeah, I did, and it was actually at Last Resort.
Yes, it was. I tell you what, that color was absolute fire. So, props to Fat Fabs. From what I understand, I don't know if it's true or not, but from what I understand, that's actually Jake's personal truck. And that bitch is bad. I love that color, man. That color is absolute fire.
Yeah, man. It makes, if you're if you're not a fan of the new however many news, the new body style, as I'm not a fan of, it kind of does start to make you go, I can kind of see it. Obviously with everything painted too, it kind of brings my mind back to the days of the early sport truck days and things like that. So definitely cool to see what Fat Fabs is doing. Always enjoy seeing their rides, especially at shows like Lone Star Throwdown. And I would remind everyone that LoneStarThrowdown.com right now, you can kind of finalize the pre-registration for 2021. It's the last weekend in February in Conroe, Texas, right? February. And the big ups to Lonnie Radar, the entire team. I know they've got always different shirts that you can buy to support, tons of food vendors, tons of t-shirt vendors, and so on. So we're looking forward to gallivanting and ride on over to Conroe, Texas for the last weekend in the month of February. Big ups, LoneStarThrowdown.com.
LST, don't they want some more something at LST that they've been like, hey, guys, we are mini truckers, and we want to see more mini trucks at LST. And they are dropping those badass trophies. Who's building those trophies, Jay?
Well, you got Phil Built Designs are building the cool trophies. I think there's going to be like the top 10 mini trucks. And what I think is super important is, again, and I know it's a long trip for some, but you got a lot of people going, well, man, I can't get into this show with my mini truck or with my ride, like Mini Truck and Nats. Well, listen, they've got their thing going over there. You can get in, and I'm telling you what, if you go to Lone Star Throwdown, you will find out that quickly, I mean, it's brain overload when you go to a show like that because there's so many trucks. And what I love is I just love trucks in general. Of course, we're mini truckers, but by all means, I'm going to look at the dualies, the C10s, the Silverados, you name it. And then, oh, by the way, they've got a good mix of cars, the SUVs, you name it. It's all falls under the umbrella. So, but we need more minis there. So let's make minis great again by going to Lone Star Throwdown. Get out there, have a good time, gallivant around, and do the damn thing at LoneStarThrowdown.com.
And Jay, talk about Lone Star Throwdown. One of the key people. I think it was her birthday this weekend, or yesterday, or today. Crystal, happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday, happy born day, and we recently announced their anniversary. And, of course, boom, man, a couple weeks later, then it's her born day. So big ups to our partner in crime at Garage Gear Clothing.
Yes, and Garage Gear Clothing, I know you're out of paper. You've been out of paper, and I can't believe I was gone for all this time. You still have not gotten any paper. But what do they offer over at Garage Gear Clothing?
That's free shipping in the continental United States.
Boom.
And these scene updates were brought to you by Custom Car Show Productions. We tell you time and time again, including at the top, there's 4 annual events at this time, including Orange Beach Invasion, which is spring break, that first weekend before spring break in the South in Orange Beach, Alabama, at the Wharf. After Hours, which is typically at Hank Aaron Stadium in the month of May. Scraping the Coast, there's now a Facebook event page for the 19th annual flagship event that happens the last weekend in June, which is really 4 months after Lone Star Throwdown, and then Biggity Bayou Showdown every November in Slidell, Louisiana. Now, these shows, you can find more information on Facebook or Instagram. Facebook's really the place to be, and don't forget, Feltham Fab does a lot of these awards, so we'll be talking more about that. Just know we hope to see you at Orange Beach Invasion. Again, it's the spring break weekend for March, and it's the kind of the beginning of spring break for us here in the South. And if you're up north, come on down, enjoy the kick-ass show, the kick-ass weather. It's going to be awesome. Okay, next, Mike, we got the key show updates. And, we talked about the Custom Car Show production events. We talked about Lone Star Throwdown. One thing we want to be clear on is Mike said that his show that they lead is obviously really kind of kicking off the new year for many of us. Going to be one of the first shows, if not the first show that we go to, February 13th, Mike. But we know 2 weeks after your show in Clearwater is LST, but what's the show that's the week after LST in Lake Wales?
Dude, the week after is our good friends Relaxed Florida is relaxing on the ranch. Guys, last year was the first year, and this, hands down, by far, is one of my new favorite shows, man. We had such a good time last year, just such a kick-back, laid-back show. There's camping right there. We didn't have to go anywhere. We just rode our golf cart over to the show area, rode it back, plenty to eat, plenty to drink, the bonfire all night long. And man, we had an absolute blast. So make sure you guys have this on the calendar. I believe it's March 6th, if I'm not mistaken, Saturday, March 6th. And you guys do not want to miss. This is this is definitely the up and coming show, especially here in Florida. Camping show. If you're down for camping, this is the show to go check out and go hit up here in the state of Florida. Our good friends, Relaxed Florida, and they definitely do it right.
Yes, and the awesome thing, I mentioned this recently, is if you follow them, Mike, I have to always get him to enunciate things right because he calls it relaxing on the ranch. I'm like, yo, Mike, it's relaxing. You got to add that little street cred in there, Mike, right? But seriously, relaxing on the ranch is if you click the link in their Instagram bio, you will see that it takes you to the site. You can pre-register, which I think is fantastic. But Mike, here's another cool thing. And I've wished shows would do more of this. I know logistically it's not as easy, so they're kind of this next up-and-coming show. But you can also select like the days attending. Do you want a shirt? Are you lodging? Those type of things. You can do shirt only, pick up at show, shirt only tall, things like that. So if you are, and by the way, they also have shirt only tall sizes shipped and that type of thing, and in regular sizes as well. So don't get me wrong. Many of you are out there going, hey man, I can't make it down there. Maybe you're like Dale, you're up in Canada, and you're going to have maybe the border still closed. You can go out there and you can order a shirt. Now, granted, I know shipping, of course, to another country, that's a little expensive, but you get the idea that they've kind of really thought outside the box, Mike, and they're trying to cater to everyone with that flexibility of you want a shirt, we'll ship it. You want a shirt and you want to guarantee it, reserve it now, and then you'll be ready to rock and roll March 6th, Saturday, March 6th, as you mentioned, at the Westgate Ranch.
Yes, exactly. And Jay, we're getting ahead of ourselves because we keep talking about, we always cover all the Florida shows. This necessarily is not a show per se, but damn it, the guys here in Florida from Aftermath, they do Dragon the Alley. It is a awesome time to get all the clubs together, and hey, especially if you're competitive, because it does get pretty damn competitive, and it's a bowling tournament, so all the clubs compete. Five bowlers on a team, per club, and you get out there and you bowl. It's going to be here in Orlando, Florida, Saturday, January 16th, 2021. They're at Boardwalk Bowl. So, and that's at 10 a.m. So, guys, all you clubs here in the state of Florida, and if you guys want to come from out of the state of Florida, want to come to Orlando, tons to do in Orlando. So if you want to make a weekend out of it, you can there's plenty of stuff to do in Orlando. Make a weekend out of it. Come down, hang out, and let's have a good time bowling. It's $75 per team, per lane, and you get this nice big trophy for the winning. And I know it's not always about trophies, but hey, it's always good to win one when you can. And so, dude, come down, check out Dragon the Alley, hosted by our friends over at Aftermath, Florida.
Yeah, and from there, you basically have January right there, what Mike mentioned. You have February. We talked about March 6th. Really, the only other couple shows we want to mention, obviously, with Orange Beach Invasion, it's the 13th through the 15th. That's in Orange Beach, Alabama. You can follow Orange Beach Invasion Show on Instagram or, of course, on Facebook. We'll be out there. And then you're going to have, for us, about a month and a half break till we get to Southeast Mini Truckin' Nats, which is the last weekend in April, the 26th to the 28th. That's Maggie Valley, North Carolina. So though it's sold out, but you can still get a wristband. You can get in. You can do the cruise stuff at night. There's so much more than just getting in with your vehicle. So we're super excited about that. And then really from there, the only other shows I wanted to mention, Mike, was we're going to have Made of Steel, which is the 14th and 15th of May. That's in Dover. Now, we hosted a cruise the last couple of years. Really looking forward to doing that again. We'll have the cornhole, corn toss. We're going to have a lot of stuff going on. We're kind of working through the logistics of some of it. And I know, Mike, Made of Steel show, Goat and Tank, they do a lot for the scene. And what I would ask is, if you're in Florida, you're going to have a handful of shows to go to next year. Come on out. Let's support the scene. Full sizes, mini trucks, old school, you name it. I know Vic will be out there again. All of Severed Florida will be repping. And Mike, you're excited about this one, I know.
Oh, absolutely, because I know one thing. I know my Mazda will be there. That's for damn sure. And I can tell you all this. Last year's Made of Steel was by far the largest Made of Steel show to date. So it was good to see you guys going out and supporting GOAT. And I know OLP will be there again and holding it down and doing the damn thing.
No doubt about it. So those are the key show updates. I did mention last episode that the new street trucks will have the mini Nats coverage. So again, quick turnaround. So looking forward to that. The key show updates are brought to you by our family at the West Coast Influence. If you go to minitruckfilm.com, you can purchase the Blu-ray or DVD. They also have custom die-cast trucks available right there on their website. Get out there, support the reel. I know some of you haven't seen it. Order a copy. Even the DVD is great quality. Add it to the archives. minitruckfilm.com. Mike, the podcast updates. Here's what we got. We would ask if you've got an iPhone or you're on the Mac operating system, go to the podcast app. I finally have the new Mac OS on my computer. And of course, many of you know, that iTunes was kind of disbanded. You basically have Apple Music, and then you have the purple app, which is the podcasts app. And that's just the way kind of Apple does it. So many of you are on the iPhone. Please go into that purple pre-installed app and tap on Library, select OLP, scroll all the way down, and hopefully tap on the 5 stars. Oh, by the way, if you write a review after that, leave your Instagram name or your name if you want a shout out, and we will gladly do that. We're up to about 215 reviews. Doesn't look like we've had any new ones since the last episode, so big ups to everyone that's already done that. We do have, in a couple of weeks, we have some new stuff that we'll be launching, so we're excited to talk about that. And then, Mike, Ruben, and I, we're really kind of focused on the guests for 2021. We obviously have some names that are going to carry over from this year that we just weren't able to link up with. We are going to try to link up with some of those guys and ladies in the month of January. And really the commitment, even though we had a lot of ladies on this year, we want to commit to even having more on next year. So, Mike, really 2021 is looking to be on the rise, and I'm just looking forward to putting in the work and doing what we can. Maybe some logistic changes for 2021, but for the most part, got the pedal stomped.
Like we always do about this time.
Yes, like that, man, right in with the chronic, man. But Mike, Feltham Fab is who really kind of brings these updates to us. And I know you're super excited about Feltham Fabrication and what he's doing in 2021 for the scene.
Oh, absolutely, brother. He is one of my title sponsors for After Dark. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to come up with as far as some of the art that he's going to be painting up for me for After Dark. So going to be some pretty badass giveaways. And definitely want to give a shout out to Sean Rose with Rose Metalworks. He just finished the metal sign that he did for After Dark as well. And you can't thank that guy enough, man. You want to talk about busting out some damn some work, that guy and that bead roller. And props to Daryl Poe. He's got him a bead roller now. So look what Sean Rose has got started. You know what I'm saying? So and definitely look forward to seeing Sean at a lot of these shows going forward. I think we got something started there at Mini Nats this past year, and he's gonna be taking that bead roller all over the United States and bead rolling there at some random shows. come 2021. So look forward to seeing that. And I also want to give a shout out to Asphalt Army. Jay, I don't know if you got one, but I got a card in the mail the other day. My wife's like, you got something from Asphalt Army. Did you order something? And I was like, well, I've ordered stuff in the past. And we had the pleasure of meeting Tony Moore and his family at Mini Nats this year. I've worked with this guy for years, with Slam Fest and, After Dark and Doing It in the Dark. And he's always supported, the shows that I've hosted and put on and finally got to meet the guy. Great guy, great family. And it's a family, thing over there with Asphalt Army. So this guy sends out Christmas cards, has a nice little letter in there, puts a Christmas ornament in there, made out of wood and some stickers. And I just want to give a shout out, guys, go out and support Asphalt Army. Tony Moore, support him and support his family for what they do. They are some of the best, most down to earth people you'll ever meet in your whole entire life. And so definitely check out asphaltarmy.com. Get a shirt, get a hat, get stickers. Just go out and support these guys. It's really, really, truly some good people. So thank you, Tony, man. That meant a lot. And it really showed Shannon, he's like, wow, they usually always just call me Mike's wife, and he actually remembered my name. So just shout out to Asphalt Army. So that was pretty cool. So thanks, Tony.
Excellent, man. All right, so next we got the Airhead Nation updates, and really, you mentioned I had this one down in Crystal Ford, her Happy Born Day, and Jeff Giles, I know, just a great guy. He's out there doing the damn thing. Both of them are celebrating the December Born Days, and hopefully they'll get all the gifts that they want for the holidays and their Born Day.
Hey, absolutely, brother. And also, Mr. Giles, make sure, Jeff, I hope you're listening. I see those big muscles, those big arms. Oh, man, you're all blown up. Don't forget leg day, okay? Very important. Don't forget leg day. But happy birthday. And I'd also like to say happy birthday to my better half. Her birthday was on Sunday. And I want to say thank you to everybody that reached out with the text messages, the phone calls, the messages on Facebook. And DJ Mays, man, you're killing me with all those memes on Facebook. That was good.
All right, and the Airhead Nation updates, as we mentioned earlier, are brought to you by Garage Gear Clothing. If you visit garagegearclothing.com and place an order, there is no shipping for that order in the continental United States. They have shirts ranging from child sizes, infants, if you will, all the way up to adults, of course, with the tall sizes. They've got the extra soft shirts, and they also have everything from sport trucks, the minis, to full sizes, to even a side-by-side on a shirt. Trust us. Don't just take our word for it. GarageGearClothing.com. Peruse the site. Place an order. Add OLP into the notes. You never know what they may throw in. All right, the new segment, 80s and 90s. Dude, this one was pretty cool. I have not watched the entire series, as I mentioned recently, from the reboot of Saved by the Bell, but always enjoy kind of watching some of the YouTube videos that are out there and whatnot. Jimmy Fallon is, there's no secret that he's a huge fan of it. He's a huge fan of kind of everything really that I'm into as well, kind of the pop culture from that era. We all know, had kind of done the first reunion of Bayside when he had some of the original actors come back on. They did a skit, which was pretty funny. He also just had the original Saved by the Bell cast perform the theme song with some twists on The Tonight Show. If you go out on YouTube, you can check it out. Now, it's not the entire cast. As we know, the one chick, Lisa, I think her last name is Voorhees. She's kind of a weird chick. She's had a lot of personal problems. I actually watched a video recently, my wife and I did, that we kind of stumbled across on YouTube, where I didn't realize, Mike, she had a lot of challenges ever since, those 5 original seasons of Saved by the Bell. But she's trying to kind of get her life back in order. And I saw something today that popped up in my feed that mentioned that, one of the cast members actually may have reached out to her about trying to pull her into the reboot. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes.
You think maybe that had to do with, they always stuck her dating Screech on Saved by the Bell?
It may have, dude, because, I mean, Screech, I don't know that he'll ever make a comeback, I mean, he was doing the adult films and stuff. I mean, I don't know. Supposedly. I never saw that shit. So
Dustin Diamond, yeah.
sounds like a stripper's name, huh? So that segment, 80s, 90s, brought to you by Welch's Chop Shop. If you are in the market for non-custom painted awards, well, if you want custom painted awards, we already know you're going to go over to Feldham Fabrication. If you need something that's kind of laser cut, or you need something to hold your AccuAir controller, or anything you can think of, reach out to Welch's Chop Shop on Facebook or Instagram. Great people, Mike, and they support the scene. They go to shows, and a lot of these pieces that you're going to see at events, either from their booth or in these vehicles, came from Welch's Chop Shop. I know even the big homie, Josh Ellis, has had him cook up some different things, whether it be for the AccuAir install or other stuff. So big ups to Welch's Chop Shop.
Yes, sir.
The throwback term of the week, Mike. This one's easy, man. You guys are going to be like, yo, he copped out. Dude, what do you know about Trucksarosa? They're on the rise, dude. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, man, they made a huge comeback in 2020. So I'm looking forward to see. I've seen quite a few of them that are going to be coming out in 2021, and I think our boy Ed Testerman has got something up his sleeve. I definitely look forward to seeing that one.
Yeah, Testerman, good dude. And if you type in Tester, Tester, you'll see bagged_JKR. And he acquired the Kid and Play vehicle truck rebuilt, the kind of the what's the word? He acquired Lucille, which is from the famous Kid and Play movie. And we've talked a lot about that in the past. So big ups to the homie. And Trucksarosa, you can follow. We have that at Trucksarosa, Truxa Rosa, just how it sounds, of course. And really want to ramp up more. Believe it or not, I found some great full-size photos with Trucksarosa kits. I mean, even dualies, 88 to 98, you name it. I mean, it was bigger than many even realize. Trucksarosa obviously was a spin off of the Testarossa. And as much as maybe some of us didn't like it in that time, as I mentioned, time heals everything, right? And as time goes on, we go, hey, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen one of those in, Back to the Future. And, man, 30 years of flying DeLorean, right? So the Trucksarosa are on the rise. Of course, there's the group on Facebook. We also paid homage to the Trucksarosa via our artwork earlier this year from Graphic Disorder. Really kind of re-upping the Sega Genesis cartridge, that famous artwork, and from Outrun. So we can't wait to see what Trucksarosa parts come out of the woodworks for next year, and get a chance to link up with the homies at the next show. Now, the throwback term of the week is brought to you by Colorado Custom Wheels. We would highly suggest, if you're in the market for a billet rearview mirror, maybe a steering wheel, and oh, by the way, the best and baddest billet wheels in the game, visit coloradocustom.com. You can also follow them on social media. Michael and team, hands down, best customer service out there. They're a small family-owned business, but they do big things. They will take care of you. Colorado Custom Wheels.
And Jay, there is nothing small about that quality that they put out.
Definitely not, man. Great stuff. And then lastly, what's trending in social media? I know the whole COVID vaccine thing, I know it's kind of a controversial subject and whatnot, but it is pretty amazing that they got it out so quick, to be able to roll this out. I know there's people screenshotting stuff. There's all kinds of different things going around and whatnot, but I do know people, it look like people in the government were going to be kind of some of the first folks to get it, and there's a lot of healthcare workers out there. I know there was some controversy over the Time magazine, quote, person of the year. And I know, Mike, when I look back, at least in my mind, the people of the year, in my opinion, are the healthcare workers. There's a lot of them out there. Many of you probably listeners are either connected, or you either work in or you're connected to the healthcare system in some way, form, or fashion. Maybe you or your significant other work in the business of it. And, I tip my cap. I know I speak for Mike and I. We tip our cap to you guys and ladies because it's been a tough year. And again, not even to get into the controversial stuff, it's impacted us all, and we hope that we can kind of get back to an on the rise 2021. So there's that. And then, Mike, the only other thing is, over the past couple of weeks, there's been a little bit of traction about Eminem supposedly releasing another surprise album, which would be his third in a row. Now, a lot of these I take with a grain of salt. It's the, quote, stans like me that are Eminem fans, and we yearn for the new music. Of course, he had music to be murdered by in January. So you fast forward and go, man, how's he going to release another one? But seemingly one of the producers of a track, and he's produced a lot of music, he kind of verified, it looks like, on social media that the album is coming out. He made a post and he included the artwork, which was rumored to be the new, some are calling it a B-side. If you think about the album, you're like, you got the A-side, you got the B-side, but then some of the artwork that leaked said the deluxe edition, so then they're going, well, that's not a whole new album. So we'll have to see, Mike, by the time this drops on Friday, we'll, of course, know at midnight Eastern time on Friday to see if it dropped. So much more to come, but I got my fingers crossed, Mike, that a new album from M does come out. That'll make 2 in 1 year, dude. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, especially for him, because usually they haven't been coming out that fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, before we wrap it up, I got to ask you this, man. I had posted earlier this week that on December 15th, your born day, so happy born day again, but in 1989, okay, 3 years before The Chronic dropped, a little movie called The Wizard came out, okay? Now, it had Fred Savage.
Yep.
You kind of know some of the stuff. I mean, surely you've seen that cult classic, right?
Absolutely. And of course, that was, yes, because I know a lot.
Yes, ding, 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 ding. All right, man, dude. I thought we were going to have to maybe, part ways again, man.
No. I used to watch The Wonder Years with Fred Savage.
Okay.
So pretty much anything that had Fred Savage in it, I was always watching. So, I definitely watched that one for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, it's classic. It's a cult classic, really. It's what they call a time capsule. And here's a fun fact. I learned about it recently, Mike. I was dying laughing. The same truck that Sylvester Stallone, Sly Stone, drove. Remember the fucking Big Rig movie he was in? Over the fucking top? The same Big Rig is what's in this movie, and they didn't even paint over the Hawk towing or whatever it was on the fucking door, dude. It's the same truck. Talk about reusing stuff, dude. So, bro, go back in 1989, cult classic. And Dizzy, even though Mike knew it, we might need you. We might need you to cook one up. Maybe the wizardry of Mike Murray. And I want to give a huge shout out, as Mike did earlier, to Dizzy. He is Dizzy, the Dizzy Duck on Instagram. Give him a follow. I know he helps tremendously with the Spark Show. Man, he might even be for hire with all these graphics he's doing. He should get a side deal going. But Mike, that's all I got, bro.
Well, dude, that's pretty much got it all covered. And the only other thing that I got is Jamie, Mini Trucker Colt. I just wanted you to know I'm sitting here eating my licorice. Twizzlers are the best, hands down. And I've made this a routine now since, you like that other crap. I don't even remember what the hell they were called. But Twizzlers for the win. And once again, Twizzlers made it through another episode.
We go and Twizzler. We go and Twizzler. Well, everyone stay tuned, because you know what? It's not enough that we just talked for an hour. I've got some more fun facts. I'll talk a little bit about The Chronic, the G-Funk classic from 1992, really the first album from Death Row Records. I've got a few new things, obviously, from last year, and a few other things I'll hit on. Won't be too long, maybe a couple hours, Mike. Yeah, you know how I get going, man.
Oh, I definitely know how you get going. But, Jay, definitely great being back on with you, brother. and definitely, I think we got everything situated. Everything's good, and I look forward to being back on here again. And like I said before, thanks Airhead Nation for reaching out. Everything is good. Everything is, I'm healthy. I'm fat, obviously, but I am healthy, and look forward to coming back on here again with the Airhead Nation and with ODB and doing the damn thing. So with that being said, Airhead Nation, we are
at you. Let's roll into the next segment.
Now me follow me on the chicken feet, still I know cheese, but life will always remain to be a little ghetto boy, playing in the ghetto street. What you gonna do when you grow up and have to face responsibility?
Yo, it's ODB continuing this episode 215. And as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about Dr. Dre's album, The Chronic. Every year, if you've been listening, you know this week, really actually right before Christmas, is when The Chronic dropped in 9 Deuce on December 15th, 92. And it was at a part of my life where I was in middle school, had, just seen Ice Cube launch The Predator. Of course, Today Was a Good Day, that awesome, video, Thang video, the single had launched around that same time. And, man, dude, it was my first, really on mainstream TV scene, lowriders, and I was just hooked, man. I really was. The sound is just something that I couldn't get enough of. My buddies actually had a big screen TV, and they had this TV where, I don't know, man, it was probably one of the first TVs where you could pause TV, and we would pause stuff, and you couldn't rewind. It wasn't a DVR, but we would pop in VHS tapes and record the videos. So, Naughty by Nature, Today Was a Good Day, the Dre videos and stuff like that. We would just, be able to go, boom, rewatch them, and then listen to the music. So I'm going to talk more about this album, some things that maybe I didn't share in the past, and I'll kind of go through each track. Hopefully you guys will ride with me, and want to just let everyone know that this is brought to you, this breakdown here that I'm going to go through is brought to you by Graphics Mafia. You hear me say it time and time again. Please, if you get a chance, go out to Graphics. That's Graphics with an X, Mafia.com. They're also on Facebook and Instagram. You recently heard from Ryan on this podcast, if you've been a long-time listener. They do a lot of different custom cut vinyl stickers, decals. They even do some embroidery work and things like that. But there's really nothing that they can't do if you want to add your Instagram handle or maybe your Snapchat kind of logo or sticker to your vehicle or your wife's vehicle. You name it. Go out to Graphics Mafia. Hit them up. Let them know that our Lifestyle Podcast sent you. So I spent some time really kind of thinking about, hey, what am I going to go over that's a little different? There'll be some things that I'll add, about this album that maybe I didn't cover in 2018 or 2019. So I know for a fact there's a couple things, but some of it will be me just kind of going through some stuff that you may have already known if you're a fan of this album, or you may have heard me say just in passing on these various episodes. Now, the different approach that I took this time is Dr. Dre is really one of the greatest producers of all time. If you think about it, if you've seen any of my recent Instagram posts, I post on @BD94S10. That's my personal. And then this year, I kind of did a little bit more a post related to The Chronic. Not a lot on the OLP, Our Lifestyle Podcast, social media. But one thing that I mentioned recently is, if you think about it, Dr. Dre has had platinum singles and or albums in the 80s with NWA, the 90s, tons, of course, everything from Blackstreet to, 2001 album, Eminem. Then, of course, Eminem at the end of the decade into the 2000s was one of the, I think he might have been the best-selling artist of the 2000s. Then Eminem, of course, success in 2010s. Dre releases Compton as well in the 2010s. But then also in January this year, Dre drops, the surprise album with M, Music to Be Murdered By, boom, platinum. So 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, that's literally 5 different decades. So really an amazing artist. I know some people, they look at it and go, well, Dre has always gotten credit for a lot of stuff that other guys have done. But I really think, and especially on The Chronic, when you think about this album, there were so many unknowns at the time. Like you have Daz Dillinger, you have Corrupt, you have Lady of Rage. DOC had established, of course, with them as an artist before. He was on board there, but just so many artists. Even Warren G's got a little part in it. Nate Dogg. So it was just an amazing time. But Daz has said on the record, Daz Dillinger of Dog Pound, that he basically learned from Dre early in those days. Like he was literally in the studio, and he has produced amazing amount of hits. So do I think like Dre, especially when they were making 2001 album, there's, he's all, he had Scott Storch around him a little bit. He produced some cool stuff. There's a lot of guys in the studio, and they're all kind of going, trying to make their beat stand out. And maybe Dre does sometimes get a little bit of the credit, for the whole team, but arguably Dre has produced some of the best songs ever. And I think like anytime you're around that kind of greatness, you kind of like, especially if you're an unknown, you're like, hey man, take my stuff. Yeah, use my stuff, whatever. So I think it's like a group effort is the way I've always seen it. But that brings me back to one thing I haven't really talked about, but ties into what I just said when you think about how Dre has had success for 5 different decades. What was his mindset? So if you think about when he leaves Ruthless, he then goes at the infancy with Suge Knight and team, and they start Death Row Records. So you go from NWA to Death Row, let's say Death Row 91, 92-ish, all the way until 96, and you decide to leave there, the second big opportunity that you've had, and then you go and you forge your own path, and you kind of go, well, all right, most people at that point are just going to fizzle out. If it's an actor, or if it's just a regular Joe Schmo, artist, we've seen them, we've seen this happen time and time again. Someone leaves a crew, they leave a record label, and it's just a downfall from there. But in the case of Dre, don't forget about Dre. Biggity Boom, he starts Aftermath, and of course he releases a compilation, doesn't really do the best, and boom, here comes Eminem. He signs him, and the rest is history. Eminem is one of the greatest selling artists of all time now, a hip-hop artist for sure. So I wanted to kind of dive a little bit into Dre's mindset when he recorded The Chronic. So think about this. Dre's departure from Ruthless Records really was he was under the thumb of Eazy-E and Jerry Heller. So if you watch the NWA movie, I think it was a Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, it made a lot of money. F. Gary Gray did a great job directing it. You get a chance to see, a little bit of the Hollywood stuff, right? But basically, Dre was the second member, as many of you know, to leave NWA. He really kind of grew tired of the bullshit, is the way I've read it. Cube had bailed. He felt the money situation wasn't right. That led, obviously, to the big beef. And according to thesource.com, on April 23rd in 91 is when Eric Eazy-E Wright was allegedly shown his mother's address by a few goons, courtesy of Death Row Records, expediting the release of the super producer Andre, Dr. Dre Young, from Ruthless Records. So give or take, that was Dre bounced in 91. So, Cube leaves. You will read different things. I've read different things like Yella, which was a part of NWA, which he just had his born day recently. Yella was real tight with Dre, and I think I read something recently, maybe a Rolling Stone article from a few years ago, where Yella was pretty much like Dre felt like he was doing 80% of it. So you can imagine if you feel like you're doing that much of the work and there's all these millions rolling in, you kind of go, well, damn, if I can do it here, I'm just going to try my chances and leave. So around 91, Dre bounces. Now, the ironic thing was, although Dre had left, he still had work completed for the second NWA album. So NWA, they had their original, like a compilation, okay? Then their first real album was, the Straight Outta Compton. And that was a mega hit. Obviously, it had, F the Police and all that stuff, right? It had the controversy, and that, brought them to this mega status. Well, Cube leaves, so they're working on their next album, which I call E-Phil for Zaggin. Okay, we all know, spelled backwards, it's something else. I'll call it Homies for Life, right? For this, for sake of this podcast. That's what I really call it in general. My buddy Paul, he knows I call it E-Phil for Zaggin because that's what it kind of spells, but obviously backwards. It's edited Homies for Life. So with that album, the Homies for Life, that was released on May 28th of 91. So, for the source to kind of, knock down the date when Eazy-E supposedly says, okay, on April 23rd, he's shown, these goons come up to him, and they kind of strong arm him. They're like, yo, we know where your mom lives, right? So that's the way the story goes. And that pretty much prompts him to go, you know what? I don't want to mess with this. I'm just going to let Dre go. He wants to leave. It's kind of like now with NBA and NFL players are like, I don't want to play here anymore. And the team's like, all right, where do you want to go? Whatever. They can call their shots. So for whatever reason, whether Eazy-E was like, he felt intimidated, which we know we know that Suge had kind of dabbled in that because, we've all heard the famous Vanilla Ice story, which I think back in the day that was, hyped up some. And I think even Vanilla Ice has since said, he wasn't dangled over the balcony. But basically, for those that don't know, a lot of the funding for Death Row supposedly came from Suge strong-arming Vanilla Ice into the rights to Ice Ice Baby, which was a huge hit, and then that helped funnel some money and money from other sources and whatever, and that's how they started this record label. So, basically, you have Dre, give or take, early 91, bounces from Ruthless, and NWA puts out Homies for Life on May 28th, 91. Now, here's the kicker. Dre, he is credited, if you look at this album, with almost every single track on it. Okay? Now, DJ Yella, of course, his right hand at the time. They work together, but for the most part, it's a Dre production. So everything from Real Homies Don't Die, Protest, Appetite for Destruction, which, by the way, per a Rolling Stone article, this was something they had brought up. Ren brought the title Appetite for Destruction to the group for what would become a funky, violent chaos. I came up with that from Guns N' Roses. Ren said we hung out with them one time. They had a show at the Forum in Inglewood, and we went to hang out with them before and after the show. We had heard that Axl was an NWA fan, so that I always wondered, and that kind of confirmed Appetite for Destruction was a playoff of course, the Guns N' Roses fame. So when you go through, you got Don't Drink That Wine, Always Into Something, which is one of my favorite tracks there. Message to B.A., which was Benedict Arnold, which was a Cube diss. Real Homies, To Kill a Hooker, One Less Bitch, Find 'Em, Fuck 'Em, Flee, Automobile, She Swallowed It, or rather F You, Approach to Danger, so on and so forth. Basically, that whole album was produced by Dre. And imagine this, right? So if you've ever been in an opportunity where you have, I know someone recently that left the company that he had worked there a long time, 25 plus years. And by the time you're starting to kind of leave that company, or maybe you have this new opportunity like Dre did, you either, at some point, you check out and you're like, I don't really care about this job because guess what? I've got a new career ahead of me. Or you kind of do your best and you kind of come in for the rest of your days and then boom, you're excited because you got this new opportunity. And I think that's what it was. I think Dre put together his best effort. I like the album. I've heard or read, I don't know where, but I remember hearing like Dre kind of going, it wasn't my favorite work. And I've heard him say that before, but you can imagine Dre with this final NWA album he's producing, he puts together his best effort and he's like, dude, I'm out of here, right? So he's on to bigger and better things. So a Rolling Stone article published in May of 2016, around the 25th anniversary of it, this was Yella. He said, when we mixed the first side of Homies for Life, we took our time. he continues, but the second side was a rush job. That's when all the stuff started rolling down because the group was almost technically broke up. It happened before the album came out. So what I thought was cool there was, we don't even experience this anymore. If you listen to tape cassettes or you listen to LPs or, the vinyl, if you will, you get to the end and you have to flip it, right? So that's where, many of the young cats, they don't even realize what an A and B side is. They're just like, I've got Spotify, I've got Apple Music, and Pandora and all this stuff. What is A side, B side? So, the sequencing of albums, you had artists back in the day that would spend like a year kind of figuring out, hey, I want this song, I want this concept and that type of thing. So basically, you've got the A side where he's like, look, we spent our time on it. And then when we were kind of mixing and mastering and finishing the B side, that's when all hell broke loose. Now, here's the fun fact. I remember reading this, again, I don't know where, but many of Above the Law was with Ruthless. That famed kind of group really is somewhat credited with the G-Funk sound and kind of that era even before some of these other groups, right? And if you go listen to Above the Law, the last song, that is supposedly what I've read and heard, literally the last song that MWA created together. So it's on their album, but that's, you hear the whole NWA crew on there and that type of thing. So I'm pretty confident that was from a good source. So, kind of bringing it back, it's like basically, they knew it was kind of coming to an end. Cube, who wrote a lot of stuff for them, he already left. He was having major success. Now your super producer that does a lot of your stuff, he's bouncing. It's like, okay, what is our future going to be? Now, around this same time, so remember, I'm talking about 91, then you have the NWA album come out May of 91. Well, in April, so around this time, Dre and Death Row, they had already produced a song for the Deep Cover soundtrack, which dropped on April 4th of 92. Got a lot of airplay, especially on MTV with music videos, the success of those, especially in the, 80s into the 90s. You basically had this very dark video. You got The World is introduced to Snoop Dogg, and a highly controversial track, as Snoop is saying, to basically commit a 187. You guys know the song. It's still one of the hardest beats that you'll ever hear. People just love the beat. Big Pun and Fat Joe even used it for kind of a track that they had done. So, a highly controversial track, but you basically have now, shortly after, let's say per the source, around April 91, he bounces. Just a year later, he's got, this mega hit, right, already. So, going back and looking, basically, Variety.com had an article, and it alleges Eazy's lawsuit was in October of 92 that basically sent a signal from Eazy-E to the Death Row camp that he wasn't playing when it come to business. And if you go out there and, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you can Google like Variety, Eazy-E sues Sony Music and others. And it kind of goes on to say Eric Eazy-E Wright, one of the founders of NWA and the head of Ruthless Records, has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that charges various incidents of racketeering, extortion, and money laundering in connection with a contractual dispute between Ruthless and Sony Music. The suit also claims violations of the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations, RICO. And named as defendants in the suit, it kind of goes on to say Andre Young, a.k.a. Dr. Dre, and others, including Suge Knight, Solar Records, and so on and so forth. So, a whole bunch of stuff. So shit's really starting to kind of hit the fan, right? But what I've always thought that was pretty awesome is if Dre leaves in early 91, by all accounts, Suge must have said, hey, look, man, we're coming out swinging. You've already had great success. Take your time and record. We want to put out the best hard-hitting, hardcore, you name it, album we can, right? So he has, give or take, like a year and a half, a little under 2 years, to make his debut album, The Chronic. Now, in October 92, that's, of course, 2 months before Death Row would drop The Chronic, which was really their debut album on the label. There's a tremendous buzz back then. Of course, Nine Deuce. Dre had introduced the world, as I mentioned, the Snoop Doggy Dogg, a.k.a. Snoop Dogg now, to deep cover via the deep cover soundtrack. Now, with Dre leaving Ruthless, there was no doubt he kind of probably had something to prove. Kind of like Brady leaves the Patriots. He goes, look, I want to show Patriots Nation that it was me all these years. I'm the greatest, right? And then you probably have the coach going, well, wait a minute. I want to show everyone that it wasn't just Brady, it was my mastermind, right? So you have all of that, which we often refer to as a chip on your shoulder or chip on their shoulder, right? Now, the last album of NWA's, their second, as I mentioned, and final LP, was one that many regarded as a tremendous offering. Although a solid work of art, like I said, Dre, from what I've seen and heard, he kind of had this feeling of it was mediocre. Now, keep in mind, April 92 was a period in time in the U.S. that the tensions were high, much like, almost like 2020, right, in some ways. This was due to the Rodney King trial, and you had the 4 cops who, had inflicted a lot of pain, beat this guy up. And then, of course, on April 29th, 1992, or as Ice Cube rapped on Wicked when he goes, April 29th brought power to the people. Basically, April 29th was the day that the verdict came in for the Rodney King, beating, if you will. So you had not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. And you heard that through Predator, which was released that same year. So now I've went back and I've listened to a lot of interviews, and there's a guy named Colin Wolfe, and hopefully we'll be hearing more from Colin soon. He's a musician, a bassist, and Colin has worked on everything from NWA, the Homies for Life album, all the way up to so many different artists, including Dr. Dre for many, 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 many years. And there's a video out on YouTube that I watched with Colin Wolfe, and he's talking about creating that G-Funk sound. And he has kind of basically confirmed what many of us knew from 91 to 92 is when the album was recorded, The Chronic. Now, the transition was translated into the studio, and there's no doubt with the tensions riding high, the effects of the Rodney King verdict coupled with the LA riots, it's what really fueled a portion, of, at least, of the album. Now, NPR wrote a story January 2013 titled The Chronic 20 Years Later, an audio document of the LA riots. It featured Matthew McDaniel. Now, I think I may have mentioned the story in the past, but I don't think I mentioned his name. He was an intern at K-Day, which was a local radio station in Los Angeles. Now, one thing that stood out to me in the article was there's a video there. In the video, it's Dre, Snoop, Daz and Corrupt. In the studio, he talks about his love for making music and things like that. It kind of starts off, he's like, "What up, Matt?" They obviously had a kind of a relationship there, and Dre starts playing the piano, and he starts speaking about one of the songs I'll talk about here in a few minutes. But the significance of Matt, who worked as an intern, he had went out in those 5 or 6 days of the LA riots, and he was recording with his VHS player, right, his video recorder, and he was the one that captured these, I'll call them protesters, right, that were just, ticked off, and those are the little segments that I've mentioned in the past that you'll hear on the album, like at the beginning of Lil Ghetto Boy and things like that. So you've got these unnamed guys who he picks up this audio, this really, these guys that are passionate about, we're out here, and, and they kind of say what they say, and he had tried to shop that audio to Ice Cube because he knew Cube was working on an album. And he never heard back, and that's when he contacted Dre, and Dre was like, man, we'll use it. And he did use either 2 or 3 of those clips. I think I'll talk about them here as I go through, each of the tracks. But basically, that's where that audio came from, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you hear it. If you go back and you re-listen to The Chronic, you'll hear those guys, the one guy's like, if I had to die today for this little child of mine, he's like, I'm a dead mother effer. You know what I mean? So that wasn't like any artist that said that or wrote that or anything like that. I mean, that was like, whatever you believe, that was the passion of what was going on right then and there, kind of like a street reporter. So I say all that, there again, you'll hear some of that, and it's really important for me to say that because in that same video that is on the NPR article, Matt asks Dr. Dre about this track that I'm getting ready to talk about. So one of the unknown things that you may not know about the album is there is a song that's titled "The Day These Homies Took Over," right? And I'm editing that, of course. And the day the homies took over, okay? It features Dre, of course, RBX, Snoop, and Daz Dillinger. And the significance of this track is originally it was titled Mr. Officer. Now, this is not my track, at the end, I'm going to roll out to this song, okay? It's an unreleased song. You can find it on YouTube, so on and so forth, but again, it doesn't express my views. I'm just saying it how it is. Mr. Officer was basically the original track for The Day These Homies Took Over. Now, in the video I mentioned earlier, Matt asks Dre about the song, and he says basically, hey, what happened with you had to then change it up? And Dre responds with, we had to change it up a bit because I'm about making those ends, Making money is more important than talking about killing police, right? That's what Dre said. That was his response. So you basically have probably the record company. I mean, I can't confirm this, but with Body Count having such controversy over the whole Cop Killer song, right, that was banned and removed from their album, you had a lot of pressure on Warner Brothers at the time there with that song. So you probably have Interscope going, listen, you've already got this great album. Let's not derail from the greatness of it by putting this song that's so controversial, that's just really stepping over the lines, that could really get, way more bad press than the good press, right? So they changed the song from Mr. Officer to The Day These Homies Took Over. So if you listen to that one, now at the end, I'll roll out to Mr. Officer, the best version I can find of it. It was also released in part, you'll hear the hook, if you ever had picked up the Chronic 2000, at the end of Death Row's reign, and Dre had left, Suge had trolled basically Dre, catching wind that he's going to put out an album called, Chronic 2000, aka 2000. And Dre's like, we're going to leapfrog him. And that's when that's when Suge puts out the double disc, which was really a lousy album, compilation, whatever you want to call it. That gets put out on Death Row Records. And that forces Dre in late 99 to change his album from 2000 to 2001, right? So, but on that double disc, you will hear, a song titled Mr. Officer, and you'll hear Michelle A., where she's singing the hook, Mr. Officer, right? So I say all that because that's one of the unknown things, and I even see it when you go on YouTube and you look at some of the comments, like people are like, oh man, why didn't this track ever get released? It was Dre at the time featuring RBX and then Prince Ital Joe, who he's no longer with us. Prince Ital Joe, I've mentioned in the past, he actually had a Death Row album that never got released, and he had worked with Marky Mark, and he's also featured on Tupac's Machiavelli album. So Prince Ital Joe, really an OG, he is on this leaked track, Mr. Officer, okay? So a lot of people are like, man, why didn't this track ever come out? And it's like, if you listen to it, it did come out, but it came out in a different version, which was The Day These Homies Took Over. Okay, so that's one fun fact there. Something else that was cool that kind of had changed, so kind of transition here on a couple of the kind of the new things, is this year on April 20th of 2020, so really major flex there. April 20th, 2020, The Chronic became available to stream outside of Apple Music and really kind of hit other popular platforms like Spotify. Now, my understanding was originally The Chronic, when Dre had started the Beats by Dre, and then there were the talks of Apple purchasing that brand from him and Jimmy Iovine, that led to Apple, my understanding, signing an exclusive agreement to say, hey, we're going to stream The Chronic, and it's only going to be available for streaming through Apple Music. Now, that lasted a few years, and, whatever that ran out, opportunity presented itself, and you can imagine an artist, even someone like Dre, he's going to want his music available on all platforms. It's only smart because you get more streams and you got more money coming in. So that was something new that kind of came about this year with The Chronic. So April 20th, 2020. And I actually posted a photo, and I'll do it again. I posted a photo when those billboards were up, what it was basically like The Chronic is now streaming on Spotify or, whatever those other platforms are. Now, something else I may have mentioned last year, this was kind of mind-blowing. Snoop, he was on Questlove's Pandora podcast, and he had talked about, and he kind of blew Snoop's mind. And Snoop knows his, stuff when it comes to The Chronic and where he was. And, I've seen different interviews where he's like, yeah, this is what I wrote, this is what I did, and blah, blah, blah. But Snoop basically learned that Nothing But a G-Thang samples Questlove's parents. And Snoop was like blown away. You can go back and listen to this, I'm sure. But when Questlove, he says, you sampled my parents, right? My mom and my dad. And Snoop was like, what? And Questlove comes back and goes, that's my mom and my dad, the Roots drummer. So he's from the Roots, and then you probably know the Roots. They're on Jimmy Fallon. They're, the band for his show. The Roots drummer responds, just chill to the next episode, and he laughs. And if you listen to it, you'll hear that part, and that's Questlove's parents. So that was a little bit of a sample that Dre did when he was making that. The sample in question is from the 73 song, Are You Looking by Congress Alley. The R&B group features Arthur Lee, Andrew Thompson, and Jackie Andrews, Quest's mother and father. So pretty cool. And again, I think that technically had came out sometime, a couple years ago. So, maybe you're a new listener. Maybe you came here because of The Chronic. I wanted to kind of throw that out there. I thought that was pretty cool. And again, like I've said, even with mini trucks, that's one awesome thing with music, an album, maybe an artist. You find out these facts about said song or album 28, 25, 23, 30 years later, kind of reinforces that, man, it's a classic when you're finding out stuff still all these years later. So I kind of talked about there, obviously, kind of Dre's mindset, and I talked a little bit about, obviously, the song Mr. Officer, which many have not heard. I do think it's probably best that they changed it, and that may be contrary to what some people would think, but my mindset is, look, the album was already classic. It had some controversial stuff, a lot of controversial stuff with a lot of disses to Easy, Luke Campbell, so many different artists and things like that. You basically go, hey, I mean, a lot of these artists, they want a little controversy, but they don't want to go too far. And with the heat that Body Count and Ice-T had over on, Warner Brothers, they probably were like, look, we're going to push the limits, but we're not going to push them that far. So that was pretty cool. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, a lot of times when I post an album cover, I'll have, done some research, and I kind of know who shot the cover, maybe where the cover was shot, just fun facts about it. And I was researching earlier this year, and I come across a blog or a website by a guy named Michael Benabib, okay? And he has an office up in New York, and he basically has this quick story that I'll read here. This is from June of 2019, Dr. Dre, The Chronic album cover story. He says, I get a call from Death Row Records to fly out to LA to shoot Dr. Dre, The Chronic album cover. We started our photo shoot in the photography studio, then recording studio, and later transitioned to locations outdoors in LA. Suge Knight was my contact person and seemed to control everything. He was the one with the plan. As the night goes on, Suge starts introducing me to other acts he wants me to photograph. Unaware of his reputation, I eventually got close with him. I said, hey, I'm here to shoot Dre and Snoop, and even called him cuz, and it didn't go over well. He glared at me, and the entourage instigated with an oh shit, and sort of, kind of made him think like, oh shit, what's going to happen? So he goes on to say, thankfully it all worked out in the end. A few months later, I remember being thrilled to see the album cover on a Sunset Strip Boulevard with my photograph. The next time I saw Suge at an Uptown Records listening party, he shouts my name across the room, calls me cuz, and greets me with a pound and a hug. And that's really all that he wrote in this blog entry, but it was pretty cool. He did share 2 photos with it, and it looks like one was the one that was used, but if it was kind of doctored up. In the photo that he shared, Dre has a hoodie on. Of course, on the album cover, he just has a black t-shirt and what appears to be a black hat. So, not sure if they just kind of doctored the photos way long before Photoshop. But nonetheless, it was pretty cool. And, getting into like other albums that came out, like Snoop's Doggy Style, like we pretty much knew who did the artwork because it was, plastered there. A lot of times it's inside the CD or the tape cassette, and it would explain. But for whatever reason, that was just something I didn't realize or did not know in terms of who shot the artwork and what the story was behind it. So pretty cool stuff there. So there's a couple of fun facts. The sequencing of the album to me is really near perfect. And if you're a Dr. Dre fan or you listen to his work or you listen to albums, you'll know that the sequencing is really important. And I'll talk a little bit about it as I go through some of the tracks here. But really, it kind of flows like a movie. It flows like a story. You have these transitions into the next song, which I thought was awesome. The album starts with a sinister intro titled The Chronic Intro. Snoop comes out flexing. He really even guarantees another platinum record right out of the gate. But Snoop also has some fun with his really kind of carny talk, which he's been doing a long time, and really just kind of clowning around in the track. But obviously, he seems pretty serious there. And then use a perfume-looking MFer, Dr. Dre professes of Eazy-E when the second track, F with Dre Day, which really is commonly known as Dre Day, rolls into really a perfect transition. This is really an anthem. When I look at it, the laid-back track, really how do you do a laid-back track, kind of like a house party jam like this? But you're also dissing 2, 3, 4 people in the song. It's crazy. Now, Colin Wolfe, he talks about with Dre Day, I was again thinking P-Funk when I came up with the bass line. That's exactly what I was going for. Once that comes in and you can hear the other stuff around it, I think Daz did something with the melody line, and I added the guitar, Rhodes, and the strings to the record. It's kind of related to D's Nuts with the prominent Moog, is what he says, right? So I hope to hear more from Colin Wolfe here in the near future. We'll have to see if that works out. But I'm not a musician, so some of this talk kind of goes over my head. I just know I like the sound. Now, Snoop's Bow Wow Yo, Yippee Yay was really, to me, like a perfect jump off to this verse. Easy for people to follow along to, and yet try and, kind of follow Snoop's moniker. RBX, a.k.a. the narrator, does the interlude before verse 3 and finally the outro. I think the icing on the cake for this one really is the music video. You had the visual of poking fun of Eazy-E, Luke Campbell, Two Live Crew, and just really kind of a good laid-back vibe when they're in that. I always thought it was like a basement, but, they're in that big room, and it's kind of like this house party, and everyone's just jamming out, dancing, having a good time. Now, for those that don't know, Tim Dog, he made a track called Fuck Compton, which is what sparked the West Coast to respond, and that's when Snoop disses Tim Dog. I don't think a lot of people knew who he was. He never was really a big act, if you will, but he was from the East Coast, and that's where the diss came there. And then Snoop on the outro says, so I don't want no dilapidated, two-faced, pigeon-toed, bow-legged, cross-eyed son of a gun fucking with me. 9 Deuce, Dr. Dre dropping the Chronic once again. I mean, again, you just had this, disses that they were throwing, but it was like in this, like, just laid back, and you couldn't help but love it. Even if you like those other artists, you're just like, damn, man, this is the anthem. Also, keep in mind the single was released in May of 93, 5 months after the album dropped, and 6 months after Nothing But a G-Thang, which came out in November of 92. So really it kept the momentum of this album going and going and going, and I think that was important for the success of it. You have 3 singles released over kind of give or take a 9-month period, and it just continued to stay in rotation on MTV. So you have one of the best diss tracks of all time rolling out with an outro with Jewel's vocals over Snoop talking, and we ride into Let Me Ride. Biatch! And, man, this song to me is classic. This was the third and final single related to the album. It released on September 13th of 93, which really, as I mentioned a moment ago, really continued the buzz well into that entire year. Now, if you have Apple Music or Spotify, check out Rough Rhyme by King T, which is one of the songs sampled, including a Mothership Connection. And it's amazing to me when I go back and I listen to some of the songs that were sampled for these classics. I mean, I can hear it, but even when an artist is sampling something, there's still a lot of work that goes into taking that and making this awesome record. You know, I couldn't do it, so I appreciate it really that much more. So right after the major diss, Dre talks about creeping down the back street on D's. So again, you got the lowrider connection there. The video featured helicopter shots of Dre rolling in a lowrider convertible. This has to be one of really the best lowrider anthems of all time, in my opinion. Snoop calling or saying "rolling in my 6'4", which really was for me another dig at Easy. You know, Snoop was like, "We got 6'4s too," you know what I mean? And they continued to talk about 6'4s all throughout the album. The last verse, "The day is getting late," so you know, it kind of ends with, "While my D's keep spinning and these hoes keep grinning, I'll be rolling in my 6'4". What everybody's saying, right? They pull up at the house party, and it's just on and pop, and they lay the car out. And that was, again, another thing, just like watching the Today Was a Good Day video. It had me hooked, man. I was like, dude, I don't know how they're making these cars go up and down. I want it. I love it. This is where it's at. Now, from Let Me Ride, we roll into The Day These Homies Took Over, which, as I mentioned earlier, was originally a song titled Mr. Officer. It was changed due to the public outcry, in my opinion, over many things, including the body count track. My opinion is probably, like I said earlier, it's probably best in hindsight. Why bring even more controversy to an album that already had plenty, let's be honest. Now, I covered last year that the audio at the beginning, and I mentioned it earlier, was from the LA riots, and thought that was interesting. That was something I learned over the past few years. Around the 1:15 mark, you can hear the reporter come in talking about looting. This was an important track for the album. It's arguably one of the most controversial, but then again, think about if it was left as Mr. Officer, it may have gotten a lot more negative press from it. Here is one of the underrated parts of the album. Snoop comes in at the end for the outro. Yes, you heard that right. This album flows, and the sequence is second to none. Snoop says, "Blam, blam, blam till they fall. Listen to the shots from my homie Doggy Dog. Biggity bye, Dr. Dre. Hit him with some gunshots. Diggity Daz and RBX. Dem bus gunshots. Come again." And when he says "come again," boom, it flips right there to arguably one of the best, greatest hip-hop songs of all time, Nothing But a G-Thang. Which, with Cube's track, Today Was a Good Day, kind of changed my life, because I was like, dude, seeing these videos, hearing this music, I was like, this is what I love, man. I knew it instantly. Nothing But a G-Thang features Leon Haywood's sample, which is really flawless. When Dre was on his boy, DJ Big Boy's show, it's a radio show out west, being interviewed, he said he knew it was a hit when he was playing the track at a house party, and everyone kept asking him to replay it, dude. I mean, this is back in the day of tapes and obviously CDs, but, dude, imagine, before the single even drops, Dre's at a house party doing the damn thing, and he puts it on, and people are just vibing. And he was like, yo, I knew right then and there. The video's classic, lowriders with hydros, barbecue, volleyball, the homies, got a little bit of dank, got the tatas coming out, which was, of course, edited for, regular TV. DOC's rolling in the Impala, three-wheel motion, hopping down the boulevard. And then the night rolls in, the Impala pulls up, lays out. That's what sold me. I said, I want to do this type of shit. I was hooked. Then it was the house party, 40s in the fridge. The next morning, the ladies bring Snoop home. He gets out. He's stumbling. Dre's asleep in the back of the Impala, and they cruise off, and it was just like, dude, nothing but a G-Thang. Speaking of If you ever watch the HBO series, the Defiant ones, you will see some uncut footage from the video, which had really never been seen from my understanding. So that was kind of cool. And then Dre, even he became a Jeopardy question, which I posted that a couple times. I'll probably have to do it again. It's pretty cool. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. I used to love listening to the questions where he would say hip hop. It kind of became this like really kind of cult phenomenon. Hearing him say it and read those lyrics and that type of thing is pretty awesome. So again, it flows into D's Nuts, which could have been a skit on its own. But as usual, instead of throwing away a track on a skit, it really became a full track. And that's what I appreciate. A lot of artists would make a skit. That was it. You know, it was like a short 20-minute skit or 20-second skit. Boom. Throwaway, right? These skits really played into the album. And they became songs as well. The beginning where he goes, "Dig in your mouth." That's from Rudy Ray Moore. I may have mentioned that in the past, from his comedy. I love the track. It starts with Dre basically telling you why he's giving you some shit to bump. It's about the ride. So everybody in that era, we were down to roll out. He's like, I'm giving you some shit to bump in your ride. So it's like, boom, sign me up. Now, to me, the background sound coupled with the dope vocals make this one of the highlights of the album. Often, I would say, overlooked because I think a lot of people might just skip the track. They know the skit and they're like, oh, it's a skit, and they skip it. But it is one of the best tracks on the album. One of the other dope things about the track is it's about 5.5 minutes, and the last 1 minute is the instrumental. I mean, who can really do this, right? You have the middle of an album, and boom, you get a 1 minute instrumental. So really, really classic track. It flows into Lil Ghetto Boy, flawless transition into track 7 with the Mary Jane Inhale song, or that sound, which I kind of use that same sound as the intro here to this segment. Again, the audio here at the beginning is from the K-Day Interns VHS tape. Can you believe that? Crazy. Dre used it. The guy is pretty motivational, really breaking down what he's willing to do for his son on that day. So, go back and listen to it. It was inspired by Donny Hathaway's song, Little Ghetto Boy, one of the last tracks recorded for this album per Colin Wolfe. Really, in my opinion, flawless track. Not much else to say. We then roll out again to the instrumental towards the last minute of the song. Next, you got A Homie with a Gun. We roll out starting with Bow Wow, wow, yippee yo, yippee yay. Dre is putting a smackdown here. 3.5 minute track of just straight heat. 44 Reasons Come to Mind, right? Dre says Snoop's featured on it. Another hard hitting track, and you got Dre. He says verse 2, a motherfucker who's known for carrying gats and kick raps and make snaps, adapt to any environment that I'm located at. So just another hard-hitting song that kind of goes with the theme of the album. From there, you've got Rat-a-tat-tat, Clean Rollin'. So at the beginning, you hear Robert E. Mosley. You really don't understand, do you? Hey, man, don't you realize in order for us to make this thing work, man, we got to get rid of the pimps, the butchers, and the prostitutes, and then start all over clean. And you hear, homie, is you crazy? That's sampled from the movie The Mac, which starred Richard Pryor. So for those that did not know that. We hear Dre talk about his 6'4" again, and really just kind of goes with the theme of the album. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about there. Again, another great track. Kind of maybe gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, but to me, it's another hard-hitting one for the album. A $20 Sack Pyramid. This is a funny-ass skit. I was listening to it the other day on the way into work, and I could not help but bust out laughing. Now, this is one that was just a skit, right? And rightfully so. I think it was perfect. This is really, it's a spinoff of the $20,000 Pyramid. Dre masterfully orchestrates the send-up to the popular 70s TV show and gets plenty of laughs. My mom loved this show growing up, or when I was growing up, so I got a chance to always watch it. And it features DOC. And you can hear in this DOC, he had already had his accident, so his vocal cords were pretty much severed, and that's why, he really hasn't made a lot of music since the NWA days, and you do get a chance to hear him in here, and there's some funny-ass stuff going on. So go back and check it out if you haven't in a while. Lyrical Gangbang, so hard-hitting track. This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area. Made you just want to turn your shit up. Lady of Rage dropped some hard-hitting lyrics. We also hear Corrupt. I think it was the first time on the album, 1/2 DPG, Dog Pound Gangstas. Next, you have High Powered rolls in to a gangster track. High Powered doesn't let off the throttle on the album. And you would think, kind of talking about earlier about the NWA album, A-side, B-side. Here you're kind of on the B-side. And you're just like, boom, 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 another hit, another hard-hitting album. It's not like there were any throwaways, and you'll often hear that about this album where people say, dude, you can just literally put it on if you got the CD or your Spotify and just let it ride. And literally that's what it is. So a really dope track, and it samples When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin. So, again, it shows as a producer, you don't just go to one style genre of music. Dre was able to pick out of all these different kind of genres, and Colin Wolfe is on this one with Chris Claremont and Eric the Drunk Border. So playing on the guitar, there's a lot of engineering and mixing that goes into these tracks that I sometimes even forget, and it's awesome. This was later sampled for Lady of Rage on her track Unfuckwittable. So good stuff there. So next, you have High Powered. This is another gangster-ass track. High Powered doesn't really let off the throttle at all. Again, another good one. The Doctor's Office. This is a funny skit. Just over a minute. It still makes me laugh. This lady's coming in to see Dr. Dre. But yeah, he's busy with a patient, and you can clearly hear that in the audio. Stranded on Death Row, love this track. Another one, again, getting towards the end of the album, that's straight fire. Bushwick Bill intros it, so rest in peace. We lost Bushwick Bill in the last year or so. 4.5 minutes of another underrated track. Bushwick Bill says, "The hearts of men," and he kind of goes from there. It's really a funky-ass track. Snoop's verse is very memorable on it, so it's one of my favorites on the album. Man, I got a ton of favorites here. The Roach, this was the Chronic outro. So you got the flow from Stranded on Death Row into The Roach. You got that flow. It's not a throwaway track. It's about 4.5 minutes. RBX intros the track, and it really turns into kind of a jam. And at the end, he starts joking around, "Make my shit the Chronic. I want the bomb." Got to give a huge shout-out to RBX, a.k.a. the narrator. He chimed in on our post the other day, the anniversary post on OLP. He's a legend. He's worked on this album. He's worked with Eminem. He's worked with Warren G, all the G-Funk classics. And I can't wait to see what he comes up with next. RBX, the narrator. And then at the end, he kind of talks about, let's go get some food. He starts talking about fast food because he's high. And then Bitches Ain't Shit, last one. And even with an outro, they hit you with one more that's like, dude, Death Row putting the flag in the ground saying, dude, we're here, we mean business. They hit us with one more where Snoop keeps it dirty. The Dog Pound is featured in Jewel and Snoop as well. It's really a deadly track, and it's classic. So about the only other thing I could tell you is, again, the track we're going to roll out to here in a minute, it's controversial. It's not my track. I don't, anything on this podcast, unless I say it's my official opinion, I would tell you that I'm just playing it so you can hear it. Many of you probably have never heard it. And there are some other unreleased Chronic tracks out there. And the couple that I'll mention to you, was the Ho Hopper featuring Snoop Doggy Dogg. This was recorded during the Chronic sessions, but cut from the album. You can find that out there. Rat-a-tat-tat, the original, an alternate version to the one that was released in the album. The original instrumental was later used on Warren G's And You Don't Stop on his Regulate G-Funk era album. Mr. Officer, which I talked about earlier. 187 featuring Snoop Dogg, a remix to the deep cover track with different lyrics. And it was originally intended for the Chronic, but was cut because of the Cop Killer controversy and found its way to the B-side, technically, on the Dre Day single. So I don't know how many of you guys remember that, but remember when you would go out and buy a cassette or CD or record single? Nowadays, it's pretty much unheard of unless you're buying it through iTunes. But that deep cover remix, if you've never heard it, it's a great track. It found its way to the B-side on Nuthin But a G-Thang single, or excuse me, Dre Day single. Poor Young Day featuring Snoop Dogg, released in 2009 on the Chronic Relit from the Vault. So I have that here. I've talked a little bit about that last year, September 2009. This came out, and unfortunately, the worst thing about that was the some of the stuff was on a DVD, so you couldn't put it in your CD player, and you couldn't easily rip it. And then you had other content that was only like CD-ROM, I think, accessible, which is like, really? But the good news is you can find it out on YouTube. Of course, someone's uploaded it. Die, Motherfucker Die, a Dre solo track later remixed for Suge Knight's Chronic 2000 featuring Top Dogg. The remix was leaked in 2016. Smoke On, a Snoop Dogg solo track later included in Chronic Relit from the Vault. Again, that's out there. Unfortunately, it's not streaming through your major platforms. And then lastly, OG to BG featuring Snoop. A remixed version with Superfly appeared in Suge Knight's Chronic 2000. Again, that album compilation is horrible. I would not say to waste your money on it. But unfortunately, it's not available to stream. So if you want to hear it, you either got to find it on YouTube or you got to go out and buy the CD like I did. So, damn, I don't know how much more I could talk about it. I don't even think I have anything left to share next year. But we are approaching the 30th anniversary of this album in 2022. God, just 2 years away. This is the 28th anniversary. And for anyone that's a music or a fan of hip-hop or music like I am, salute to you guys. I know there's a lot of collectors out there, and I love seeing we had Amir on a couple years ago. He's got an amazing collection, rapping and snacking on Instagram, and so many others out there. I mean, collections I'll never, ever, ever own, but I certainly enjoy looking at the passion that these guys have and the ladies with the collecting and the digging and the finding of these gems. So if you've got any Death Row CDs, cassettes, tapes, whatever, CDs, cassettes, albums, records, hit me up. I'll take them off your hands. I don't mind. I'm building up the collection. You know what I mean? You guys stay on the rise. This has been the Chronic. I'm calling it the Chronic 2020. We'll hit you guys next week with some more gold, and stay on the rise, y'all. Keep the pedal stomped. Couple more weeks left this year. Be safe. Merry Christmas if we don't get to you before Christmas Day. Happy New Year if you don't get a chance to listen. Spend time with your families. Stay on the rise, y'all. We got you. The Chronic.
See, you were doing 65 into 35, and you ran a red light. That's reckless driving as far as I'm concerned. Who else you got in there with you, Jimbo? Huh? What the hell is going on in here? All right, everybody out of the vehicle right now.
Don't do it! Don't
shoot! Got a gun! Don't shoot! Please don't shoot!
Yeah, cop. I know you, man. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, we got us another crazy nigga here with a gun. Well, let me tell you something. Human life means very little to me at this point in time. You see, I thrive on misery. In the jungle, misery's all you got. But things are different back here in the world, or so they seem. Nobody wants to talk about pain and suffering. Everybody wants everything to be nice and civil. Well, okay then. Let's be nice. Let's be civil. And let's drop those guns before I pull this trigger and change the way you feel about me.
Fool, don't you know before you bring home the bacon, you gotta kill the motherfucking pig first. Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir.
Babylon have to dead, me say Babylon have to dead. Them have to dead, them have to dead, dead, dead. Babylon have to dead, me say Babylon have to dead. Them have to dead, them have to dead, dead, dead. Them beat up Rodney King, them no have no mercy. Wicked officer, them no love humanity. The Crips and the Bloods, them a come together. Chief Darrell Gates, I go bury under. Babylon have to dead, cause the people get bread. LA riot it a spread. Soldier a come cause the police get scared. Them have to dead, 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 dead.
Yeah, we had there was a rioting, well I don't want to say rioting, but there was looting downtown. But right now, what I want to show you is they have started fires down at the end of the street.
How many niggas like police?
We don't love them, we don't like them.
I said how many niggas like police?
We don't love them, we don't like them.
Oh, you said me not leave out. Me not like the blood clot police. So we all said that country, yeah.
Sitting in my living room, calm and collective, feeling that gotta kill a cop perspective. Cause what I just heard broke me in half. So fuck Daryl Gates and the whole police staff. Laugh now, but cry much later. You see, when niggas get together, they get mad cause they can't fade us. Like my niggas from South Central Los Angeles. They found that they couldn't handle us. Bloods, Crips on the same squad. With the essays helping niggas, time to rob and mob. And break the white man off something lovely. I don't love them, so them can't love me. Yo, straight putting it down, getting my suit on. It's jumping off in Compton, so I got to get my loot on. And come up on me some furniture or something. Got a VCR in the back of my car that I ganked from the sloss and swap me. And the police better not try to stop me, cause they will see that I can't be stopped. Cause I gives a fuck about a motherfucking cop.
How many niggas like police?
We don't love them, we don't like them.
I said how many niggas like police?
We don't love them, we don't like them.
Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir.
To the happy no nigga love. 187 time to grab the glove. Can't get prints on a 9 I throw away. Or get prints on my Uzi when it's play. Pop, 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 another cop just drop. And I can release like drop, spear, smash. I crashed his head like a window. I ain't Nintendo, I'm high off the endo. Reaping with the quickness to the cut. Bust one to his head while he munches on that donut and crack up. So now we call the backup. I guess I got some backup. Filling the clip up, I dip up town. But motherfucking cops are all around. Helicopters flying, these motherfuckers trying to catch me and stretch me on death row. But hell no, the pro-black refuse to go.
Very, very wide area on them when the fires in mid-1990. I mean, from here to the south end of South Central is a long way.
Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir. Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, I wanna see you laying in a coffin, sir.
Gunshot, it I go bust, bust. Jamaican posse, I go bust gunshot. Death row posse, I go bust gunshot. We not like police, come on, we not like police, get it. Not like police, we not like police. Jamaican massive, we not like police. And death row posse, they not like police, come follow me. Don't like police, they not like police, get it. Don't like police, and police don't like me.